and only Denis Villeneuve could have made Dune. No offense to David Lynch, but he is the sci-fi master at this point, and I will bestow that upon Denis Villeneuve. Hey everyone, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMXND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing the new Denis Villeneuve film, the sci-fi epic that we have been waiting for, Dune Part Two. I do not have words for this film, but I'm gonna try today, obviously because I have to talk about it with you lovely people. I went to the fan first premiere screening on February 25th in IMAX 70mm. And when I say that you have to watch this on the biggest screen possible, you have to watch this on the biggest screen possible. It's fantastic in every sense. Everything that we love about Denis Villeneuve is in this movie. I think he is a master of actually showing the scale of the world. In all of his films, he really pays attention to the scale of his creatures, of his, of the planet, of the world that he's creating, of these, these human aspects that are incorporated into the sci-fi storytelling. And I think that it's a perfect balance of everything that has come before in his other films. And I think that this is his biggest achievement. I really do. And I always say that there's always that one movie where it's a culmination of the director's work. And I do think that Dune Part Two is that for Denis Villeneuve, because everything that he's done up until this point, you can see hints of Arrival, you can see hints of Blade Runner 2049, and you can see hints of even Enemy in certain instances. And that's the same thing that I said with, Nolan and Oppenheimer, and then even, Scorsese with The Irishman and Steven Spielberg with The Fabelmans. And I think that Denis Villeneuve just put everything he had into this film. The cinematography is absolutely stunning from Greg Fraser. There's some incredible visuals here. My favorite aspect of Dune Part Two was all the Fremen stealth attacks in the sand, in the desert. I thought that was just expertly done. And the one thing that I can say about Dune Part Two that I really enjoyed is that because it's such a big film, like this is an epic, you're in the desert, you see dunes on dunes on dunes, and everything is just so big and larger than life, is that Denis really just lets every single scene breathe, lets everything set in, and there's silence on screen. I think that having very little dialogue and just have his actors be very reactionary. So what I liked about the beginning of this is that it starts out a little bit further on in time. It's not like we pick up right where we left off, and I like that. We're in the middle of Arrakis, and Harkonnens have been trying to destroy their land. They're trying to get rid of the Fremen, as we see in the beginning of this, and Dave Bautista obviously wants to try and hunt them down as much as they can, and Baron Harkonnen, played again by Stellan Skarsgård, just wants to get rid of them because obviously he wants to control the spice production. Again, everything is very straightforward. I think when it comes to the political aspect in Dune, the book is extremely dense. So for Denis Villeneuve to put it in layman terms and have audiences understand what the Harkonnens are trying to do and like what the Fremen are trying to do, like it just worked extremely well. It wasn't hard to follow. The Fremen want to protect their people, they want to protect their land, they want to protect their spice because that's what they have, and they know how to live on this planet. They know the way of the desert, and I think that they try their best to take down the Harkonnens, which we see. The stealth scenes, I cannot stress enough how incredible these stealth scenes were. The Fremen know how to fight. The choreography was exceptional. The sound design on top of that, the sound mixing, it is just so well done all around. And obviously the Hans Zimmer score bleeds in when it needs to. It's loud, it's bombastic, but it also comes in during the more emotional, sentimental moments between, Paul and Chani and their relationship. And I think that there's such a lovely balance here between their romance and Paul Atreides and his duty as the Lisan al-Gaib. So I think that everything happened naturally in this film. Nothing came out of left field. Everything was perfectly timed. The reason why I gave part one a 4.5 out of 5 was because the pacing was off for me. And it's also because I was trying to figure out in my head where they were going to end part one. And I think that's what took away from the ending for me as well. Whereas with part two, I think that everything was perfect. I did not feel this runtime. It's 2 hours and 46 minutes. And it just worked so well because the characters and the character dynamics, not only are we exploring the character relationships and building upon the strength of unity with the Fremen and obviously with Paul Atreides and his mother, Lady Jessica, but we're moving towards a larger war. We're moving towards a larger sense of community. And we don't see the transformation of Paul Atreides until I guess the last 45 minutes. And you root for Paul. Of course, you root for Paul. But then the underlying note of religion and who the Lisan al Gaib is for the Fremen people, that's what sets this movie apart from other science fiction films. I think the explanation of religion, the explanation of faith, and having that divide between the non-believers and the believers, and then Lady Jessica and the Bene Gesserit, they spread the word of the Lisan al-Gaib of who Paul Atreides is meant to be, and he has this immense pressure to live up to his prophecy. So what I like that Denis did, and it worked so effortlessly because of even Javier Bardem's performance as Stilgar, who was just so fascinated with the Lisan al-Gaib because of how faithful he was, because of that he truly believed that Paul Atreides was this prophet. And the more believable he played it, it juxtaposes with Chani because she just sees him as Paul Atreides. She does not see him as this prophet, and she tries to ground him. So you have both sides here, and I think that's what made Dune Part Two hit so hard, because of the religious conversations that were here, and you just see the corruption. You see how politics and religion bleed into each other. And I think that's the importance of Dune Part Two. And I think it's such an incredible film because, of course, you have the regular sci-fi components, but to just ground it with a beautiful performance from Zendaya as Chani to bring Paul back to Earth. You know, like, he's floating around. He has to live up to what these people expect from him because his mother put him in this position. The Bene Gesserit put him into this position. And I think that he struggles a lot. And it's a very nuanced performance from Timothée Chalamet. I think it's his best since Call Me By Your Name. I love him in everything, but he really is transformative as Paul Atreides in the second half of this, and he slowly builds into this leader, but it's not the leader that we had expected. So I think you'll see the transformation. You'll understand why this is such a hard book to adapt. And I just really loved that we had the chaos of Stilgar believing, and then Lady Jessica really just driving Paul to be this prophet. And then you have Chani, who's just like, I love you. You know, I want you to stay with me. I will stay with you no matter what. And Paul says, I will love you until my last breath. And what happens in the last 30 minutes of this, there is a level of intensity that I cannot explain to you until you watch it, because it is absolutely phenomenal work from everyone in this cast. I'm talking about Florence Pugh. I'm talking about Christopher Walken even. I'm talking about Austin Butler's Fade Rotha. Like, everyone brought their A game, and it felt like it was really quick introductions, but the quicker the introduction, the more poignant these performances are. Even Léa Seydoux, she wasn't in it that long. She has a presence. She seems very reserved and quiet, but if looks could kill, she's lethal in this, and I loved her. I just think that everyone had enough screen time. Gurney Halleck comes back in at the right time, and it just breezed by, and you feel the weight of who Paul Atreides is on the Freeman people. You feel the weight of the shift in the Emporium after what happens here in Dune Part Two. It is a heavy film, but it doesn't feel that way at the same time. And only Denis Villeneuve could have made Dune. No offense to David Lynch, but he is the sci-fi master at this point, and I will bestow that upon Denis Villeneuve. He made this film expertly. It is a fantastic movie from beginning to end. This is my first 5 out of 5 of the year. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's fantastic. And I just love that you had Zendaya and Florence Pugh as the grounding force to the chaos of these politics, to the corruption within the Emporium, and then you have a phenomenal performance by Rebecca Ferguson, an incredible performance by Javier Bardem, probably one of my favorite performances from him because of how far he takes it. And again, when you have characters that are really level-headed, you need to have the ones that are a bit out there to balance everything. That was Austin Butler's Fade Rotha. Unhinged. Absolutely unhinged. Down to the accent. His voice coaches are like probably the best in the business because he sounds exactly like Stellan Skarsgård. And you may think that there aren't surprises in Dune Part 2. There are a lot of twists in this film. Every single aspect is perfect. Every single component that makes up a Denis Villeneuve film is in Dune Part 2, and it's at an expert level that only he can achieve. I love this so much. And I don't want it to make it seem that like I'm gassing it. It's only like March, like right now. And this is the movie to beat this year. And I knew it was going to be the movie to beat this year. I loved every second of this. So please let me know in the comments below if you love Dune. If you love Dune Part 2, let me know. We need the announcement for Dune Messiah. I know Denis wants to adapt it. Dune Messiah. If you feel like there's a void after watching Dune Part 2, I highly recommend you read Dune Messiah. It's not as lengthy or as dense as the first book, but Dune Messiah, you think there's drama in the first Dune book? There's more drama in Dune Messiah. I loved it. Best decision I ever made. And it kind of works as a duology with Dune and Dune Messiah. You don't have to read anything more than that. But if you want more of the lore, then I suggest you go into those books. We need Dune Messiah announced like yesterday, Warner Brothers. Also, please let me know in the comments below how you would rank Denis Villeneuve's films. What are your top 3? For me, I would probably say it's Arrival, Enemy, and Dune Part 2. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You guys can always follow me over at AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And if you guys want to help me grow this wonderful channel, you can find out ways to do that in the bio below. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.